All right, good morning. Thank you for joining us at the Kent County Finance and Physical Resources Committee meeting. Thanks for being here. We have a few items on our agenda today, and it looks like we have a great crowd that's interested in participating. So right at the beginning, our first item is public comment. And if you'd like to speak, please step up to the podium and state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. And also, Regina has cards, and you'll be calling members up to speak, so.
The first speaker is Josh Lunger.
Good morning, Josh. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Chair Breivy, members of the commission. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I live at 1570 Lion Street Northeast in Grand Rapids, and I have the pleasure to serve as the Chamber of Commerce's Vice President of Government Affairs. And as I was thinking about what to share today, I wanted to say that as I've been traveling the state as part of our Housing Michigan work, and I'm going up to a conference in the UP next week, I'm often giving credit to both our regional cities, but also the county for being leaders in addressing housing challenges. It was our top priority for your process last year of ARPA investment to do something meaningful about housing. And the items before you today on 5 and 6 are positioning Kent County to be a leader in advancing meaningful housing changes. It's not the solution, but it's an important part of it. We're working with foreign nonprofit developers and communities every day who are recognizing that the rising costs of basically everything is having a huge impact on our ability to produce enough housing to meet our growing needs. And we know that has a burden that grows as folks' resources are less and less. And so the work you're doing today is going to help support. Obviously, we care a lot about workforce housing, but it's going to have benefits up and down the housing spectrum. We really appreciate that you had the leadership to move forward with this. The plan includes flexibility for this to support both for sale home ownership, which is a great priority, as well as the needed rental product that is in huge demand across the region as well. So we urge you to support it, and thank you again for your quick action on this important topic.
All right, next up is John Willett.
Good morning. As stated, my name is John Willett. I live at 230 Wallenwood Avenue Northeast, 49503. I'm here today with and on behalf of members of Together West Michigan. Together West Michigan is composed of 19 Kent County churches and other organizations representing over 18,000 people who live all across the county. Today, our housing issue team wants to focus on one thing, the home ownership component of the same affordable housing fund mentioned by Josh. Several other people will also be speaking. There are also many Together West Michigan members here in support of our positions who will not be speaking. I'd like to invite all of the Together West Michigan members and allies to just rise briefly so the members of this Finance Committee can see who's here. Folks. Public engagement in the decision-making process as a government is a cornerstone of our democracy. An apathetic and disengaged public may find government making decisions out of step with their values, goals, and hopes for the future. The sort of sharing we're doing today takes time, requires organization, and it slows the process a bit. It's also absolutely essential. It's an essential aspect of citizenship, learning and sharing thoughtfully about the issues of our time, and it's an essential input for the decision makers. In the past, I shared a personal story of my own daughter, a homeowner, who would have been locked out of home ownership, part of the American dream, were it not for a little bit of a boost that my wife and I were able to give her. I encouraged the Kent County Board's Executive Committee to think of the Affordable Housing Loan Fund as a boost towards home ownership and that part of the American dream for people all over Kent County. Together West Michigan has been advocating for our aspirational 50 by 50 plan, emphasizing home ownership opportunities so that 50% of the way through the life of the loan fund, the 50% of the units being created would be ownership, homeowner occupied. We're heartened and encouraged to see that the draft funding document in front of you today includes concrete goals of 10% of the units being created by an owner occupied. We recognize this work is difficult and complex, involving a multitude of governmental units all across Kent County. We encourage you to build on that performance metric and state an aspirational goal to build up to a point where 50% of the units created would be owner-occupied. Thank you very much for your time.
Barbara Williams.
Hello, I'm Barbara Williams, and I live at 250 Diamond Avenue Southeast in Grand Rapids. I also am a member of Together West Michigan. In 1988 or 89, ICCF acquired an abandoned property with significant fire damage, especially to the rear of the house. The back had to be rebuilt, and this became the impetus for installing a large one-piece barrier-free shower in the house. I applied and asked specifically about the house on Diamond Avenue, but was informed the property was going to a family with a disabled person. They asked me a few questions about employment, credit, family size, and then I informed them I was a single mom with 3 sons, 2 of them disabled. I was living in a too small, substandard apartment that just barely accommodated the 2 walkers and the 2 wheelchairs. I told them the property on Diamond would be a perfect fit for my family. I was required to take classes on budgeting and home maintenance. I was taught about credit and how simple things like paying my bills on time could raise my credit score. When I became a homeowner, I instantly knew this house was the best thing that could have happened to me. Long story short, we moved in 2 days before the 1989-90 school year began, and I have been living in the same house ever since. This house has made it possible for me to rear my sons in a comfortable, affordable, and safe setting. 9 years ago, one of my disabled sons had to move back home, so the ramp and the roll-in shower are still providing great benefit. The older I get, I can see how this property is still the most valuable jewel I could possibly possess. My housing costs are under control, no inflationary rent. It will provide a place for my disabled son to live, and when I am gone, generational wealth will pass on. I was a low-income worker all my life, and I would never have had anything to pass on if I didn't have this house. Remember, if Kent County wants different results, you will need to try different approaches. I am hoping that the 50 by 50 proposal passes. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, even if it is just to adopt it as an aspirational goal. Keeping that in mind can bring opportunity to more people. This is also a method by which the county can begin to level out the large racial disparity of home ownership between Black and white residents. Please consider this plan.
Deborah Cross.
Good morning. My name's Deborah Cross, and my address, 3659 Sonora Southeast. I'm a lifetime Kent County resident and Grand Rapidian. I come to you today representing as an ally for Together West Michigan and representing Messiah Baptist Church, where we are intending to help with the affordable housing situation as we launch our M-Village affordable housing community. But in regards to the Affordable Housing Revolving Loan Fund, it's been suggested that to set aside programming and plans as to how many rental units versus owner-occupied units are produced, that might somehow inhibit the ability to more quickly address our current housing shortages in Kent County. And perhaps there's a bit of truth to that, because everyone knows it's going to be difficult to tackle the housing crisis. It will take a long and arduous process to get there. But I must ask the question of you, just because it's a difficult process and maybe more complex, wouldn't it still be the right thing to do? And does that mean that it can't or shouldn't be done? Together with Michigan and Messiah, we believe that the outcomes of considering the 50 by 50 plan are well worth the extra effort and will far outweigh the complexities of the process. The reality is, it's more than just building a place for people to sleep. It's about choosing to build a foundation for generations to come. It's about equity, and it's about taking responsibility. Responsibility to start addressing some of the economic disparities that have plagued our urban core for generations. Disparities that will continue and will increase unless we take bold and decisive action now. I think we've all heard the old adage, what's measured gets done. Well, let's put some measurements in place and let's get this done. Thank you for your time.
Alice Pereira.
Morning. My name is Alice Pereira. I'm the Community Services Coordinator for United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 951. We represent nearly 30,000 working people throughout Michigan, including roughly 3,000 members in Kent County. UFCW 951 has been based out of the Grand Rapids area for more than 70 years, and our current office is in Kentwood. I speak today on behalf of our members in Kent County. In many ways, the local housing market has had a devastating impact on their lives. I have worked with members desperately trying to avoid eviction or foreclosure to remain in homes they know are unaffordable, because having to find something else would leave them in an even worse position. We have members paying thousands of dollars each month to live in a hotel after their landlord opted not to renew their lease and they weren't able to secure new housing due to extremely high demand and low availability for homes in their price range. Every one of our members has a job which has been recognized in recent years as essential to the functioning of our communities. They, along with other working people in the retail, warehousing, and service industries, represent a significant portion of the population in Kent County and have been among the hardest hit by the dramatic increase in housing costs. The prospect of putting down roots that stabilize their families, build wealth, and create economic opportunity for their children through home ownership is increasingly out of reach. If nothing meaningful is done to alter this course, it could negatively impact this group of people for generations. Personally, owning our home has helped my family be more resilient in the face of adversity, such as the rising cost of living due to inflation. My friends who rent are grappling with housing expenses that are increasing faster than their wages, in addition to the rising cost of food, gas, and other basic needs. Increases to my property taxes are generally capped at 5% of the taxable value of my home each year. In comparison, from 2020 through 2022, rent in Grand Rapids increased upwards of 20%. In the same period, I was able to refinance my mortgage and lower my housing payment. Since my house is more valuable than it was when I bought it, I can borrow against its equity if the need were to arise. Our home is an asset that builds wealth which I can someday pass along to my 2 children. A program to remedy the significant housing challenges in this area would not be complete without a concrete plan to make home ownership an achievable goal for all residents. For this reason, I urge you to include the 50 by 50 plan as part of the revolving loan fund to build a program that most effectively addresses both the immediate needs and long-term sustainability of housing in Kent County. Thank you.
Ted Hartzell.
I'm Ted Hartzell, leader of the Together West Michigan Housing Team, and I come to you as a member of Westminster Presbyterian Church at 47 Jefferson Avenue Southeast, one of the 19 member institutions. A little recent history. On December 1st, 2022, the Kent County Board of Commissioners awarded more than $108 million in federal ARPA dollars to exactly 30 projects. The applicants for 29 of these projects went through a vetting process and were scored by a consultant. The number one largest award at $17.5 million with a $500,000 companion piece was the Affordable Housing Revolving Loan Fund. Its proponents only submitted a 2-sentence description with no vetting by the consultant. You won't find it anywhere in the 778 pages of funding proposals on the county's website. I've looked. An 11-member advisory committee wrote the loan document you will be voting on. but this committee met behind closed doors. Early on, we appealed that secrecy unsuccessfully. So our housing team met one by one with nearly 2/3 of the county commissioners who would meet with us, some didn't, and all 11 advisory committee members. With the federal seed money, the fund on a matching basis will start out at $58 million and could hit $100 million in 2 years and perhaps $200 million in later years. The public has had absolutely no say in the direction of this unique and consequential fund. One member of the advisory committee has called this fund a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We agree. The shortage of housing units in Kent County is bad and growing worse. The Housing Needs Assessment projects that from 2022 to 2027, there will be a shortage of nearly 35,000 units in all of Kent County. As structured, the fund is primarily focused on creating rental units. But the projected shortage of owner-occupied units, according to the Housing Needs Assessment, is nearly 2/3 of the total need of all units. We understand that building owner-occupied units is typically more expensive and involved than building rental units, but we also understand that owning a home gives people a stake in a community and helps build generational wealth for families. It's good for employers and neighborhoods. Owning a home has long-lasting benefits for families and communities. That is why the Together West Michigan Housing Team is urging you to insert in the performance metrics portion the aspirational goal of 50 by 50, along with the 2 other aspirational goals you have in this document, so that at least 50% of the units built through the fund be owner-occupied by 50%, the midpoint of the lifespan of this 30-year fund. Thank you.
Ryan Kilpatrick.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Kilpatrick. I live at 238 Bristol Avenue Northwest, City of Grand Rapids, and work for Housing Next, an advocacy organization here in West Michigan. Thank you all for having this on your agenda today, for considering it. Thank you to the Loan Committee. Thank you to Together West Michigan for showing up and supporting the proposed loan. The importance of this loan structure is critical to the long-term future of our housing needs across Kent County. As has been mentioned, we need more than 35,000 housing units across the county over just the next 5 years, and that need will grow for as many years as we're unable to catch up with demand. We need housing not only for low-income households, but also for middle-income households. We need owner-occupied housing units. We need rental units. We need cooperative units. We need new, unique, innovative opportunities to create housing for everybody in our community. And the way that this loan has been structured, the aspirational goals that are baked into the loan committee document, as well as some of the suggestions that we've heard today, are all really important considerations to keep in mind. Home ownership is a critical goal over the long term, and we've got to be solving for those folks who need to be renters for the short term and the long term as well. So I really applaud everybody who's spoken today, applaud all of you for considering this. It's a really exciting moment, I think, for Kent County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
DeAndre Jones.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAndre Jones, stay at 967 Tamarack. Gotta say, I look nice in a suit. I don't really put on suits, but I look pretty good in a suit. But I'd like to echo some of the things I've heard about housing. I've spoke about 3D printing homes. I actually just found out they have a 3D printer that can actually print 6 homes in 2 days. And so we need 34,699 units in 7 years. And we need to start 3D printing some homes and using hempcrete, these eco-friendly, different innovative things that we can be able to do for our community that are sustainable and eco-friendly. I really care about housing, and today as I was walking, instead of driving my car, I walked down here because I'm at a conference for environmental consciousness at the JW right now. So they have a nice, elegant, fancy event going on. There's 14 different states here. And they have a lot of people, even Google is here in GR. What is Google doing here? And so we need to Google 3D printing, to be honest, so we can start 3D printing some homes here. But I'm here at this conference, and as I was walking, I seen some unhoused people, and they were like sleeping on the floor, and then some people were up, and the guy saluted me, and I'm just like, we just really need to 3D print some homes and find some innovative ways to create housing here, because I would love to give that person a job or a career. Instead of that person saluting me, I would love for that person to salute me because I did something positive for my community and I got that person off the streets. We have a lot of unhoused people. We have a no loitering ordinance, and we have a lot of people that are suffering from that and probably going to get locked up because they don't have a sustainable house or a sustainable job or just, somewhere to stay. Also, I'm doing an esports competition at the National Guard base. We're going to be educating the community on environmental consciousness because the Department of Defense is the largest polluter for carbons, and people don't know that. And so I believe that the federal government should be instead of pouring $1 billion into wars, we should be pouring that back into housing, back into healthcare, back into Social Security, back into economic development and prosperity for all people, regardless of ethnicity, because I know that everybody knows somebody that's a veteran that's probably served the country and put their life on the line, and now they don't have a house, and we probably have unhoused veterans around Kent County. I know we do. And so we're bringing education and awareness around there. You will see an article on Fox 17. I'll be doing a TV interview to bring education and awareness to that. And I really look forward to doing that. And I'll speak about housing and 3D printing some homes. And hopefully hopefully I bring enough attention to the Department of Defense or the government to try to see some changes, because I've been a continuous advocate for this. And I truly care about our senior citizens, our next generation, my generation, your generation. I really just want to see economic change. Thank you.
All right. Is there any further public comment? Great, seeing none, thank you all. So our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I just wanted you all to be aware that this is the fourth version of our agenda, so you should see an email from Regina from early this morning with all the updates on it. There was another item that was added, and we'll get through that. So our next item, consent agenda, it includes the approval of the minutes from July 11, auditing of checks, and also a grant of easement from the admin office. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion. Moved by Commissioner Sparks, support by Commissioner Kallman. Questions, comments regarding the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item comes from Kent County Community Action, and it's to amend the 2021 MDOT Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Program from KCCA.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate $22,431 in additional grant funds from the Michigan Department of Transportation for the Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Program to the 2023 Kent County Community Action Fund, contingent upon execution of an amended contract, and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. The Board of Commissioners previously appropriated $170,662 in funding for the 2021 program via Resolution 11-19-20-121. That was part of the 2021 General Appropriation Act. The additional grant funds of $22,431 brings the total amount to $193,093 for KCCA. MDOT provides federal pass-through funds to purchase replacement buses for transportation services to seniors and/or persons with disabilities throughout Kent County. The federal pass-through funds from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Transit Administration is providing $136,397, and MDOT is providing $56,696. The period of performance of this grant was extended and is now September 21, 2021 to September 20, 2024. The Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents as to form prior to signature.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod, support by Commissioner Antor. All right, questions or comments regarding this item? Any questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Our next item is item number 4, and it comes from Facilities Management regarding 82 Ionia office space lease to Network 180.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the lease of office space at 82 Ionia to Network 180 and authorize the board chair and/or designee to sign the lease agreement. Summary. Network 180 recently had to vacate a privately leased office space due to building failure. While the county considers future building plans, which could include office space for Network 180, they desire to lease available office space at 82 Ionia from Kent County. Network 180 needs a total of 8,487 square feet, access to a shared conference room, and the building's common areas. Network 180 will be responsible for all costs of remodeling the leased area and proportional operating expenses to make this lease cost neutral to Kent County. Network 180 anticipates the space will be ready for occupancy by late August or early September. Corporate Counsel will review and approve the lease agreement as to form prior to signatures.
Thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Green. Is there support? Support. Support by Commissioner Wooden. Questions or comments? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious about how we're handling this little pause in action as far as getting things done without that building and moving into this transitional phase.
Mark Rambo has been working with Network 180 on this.
Could you expand on your question a little bit?
I was just
don't know
curious
if
what
I'm-
we're doing in the interim as we're going away from one building into another. Are we settled already in a different building?
Is this on? I'm sorry. The space is being built out right now, and I could have Beverly, the Chief Operating Officer from Network 180, speak to what they're doing now, and I think it's potentially a work-from-home arrangement.
Beverly, are they currently moving from the Eagle Crest office building to a different location or to 82 Ionia? Is that where Network 180 is currently housed?
So currently, we remain remote for our
Okay.
administrative staff. The lease was terminated at the office that had the flood, so we've been working remote since that time, and we're looking for an opportunity to have space again for our administrative staff.
I know it's challenging working just within the realm of Network 180. There's always things that come up. Are you able to stay as efficient working out of your homes? Are you more efficient? How's that working?
We're making do. It's not ideal to have no administrative space, but we learned a lot during the pandemic, so we've been able to maintain continuous service to the process.
Just to note, the previous space that Network 180 was in was not owned by the county. It was just being leased by Network 180. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question about, I appreciate that we're going to make this cost neutral for the county, but I'm curious what the cost is going to look like for Network 180 on their end, and just curious about some of the parameters of what the financials are going to look like for that.
So I can speak to that. The lease is structured so that we are fronting the actual costs that the county would have had for that portion of the building. This is enabling Network 180 to maximize our resources and place those resources in service delivery as opposed to administrative costs. So it's the best option for Network 180 in terms of what we can deliver to them.
Good. I just want to make sure that we're, as you mentioned, keeping as much going to the services as we can. So thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sparks, do you have a question?
I do, but I'll reserve it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, our next item on the agenda is number 5. It comes from the Administrator's Office, and it's the Kent County Affordable Housing Loan Fund parameters.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the parameters for the proposed Kent County Affordable Housing Loan Fund. Summary. Kent County received $127.6 million from the U.S. Department of Treasury pursuant to H.R. 1319, American Rescue Plan Act, commonly called ARPA, of 2021, Section 603, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. Kent County appropriated $17.5 million via Resolution 1201-22-121 to address the affordable housing shortage. An advisory committee to the county administrator, committee lists in charge and closed, was appointed by the chair to assist in developing recommended loan parameters designed to respond to the current affordable housing need. The enclosed loan parameters were developed with the input of the advisory committee and were received by the chair pursuant to Standing Rule 6.2. The chair determined that the charge had been met and is forwarding the report to the Finance and Physical Resources Committee. The attached loan parameters include but are not limited to the following. Rental projects will be priced appropriately for households earning at or below 80% of the countywide area median income, or AMI. 80% of AMI for a family of 4 currently in Kent County is $71,600. Homeownership projects will be priced appropriately for households earning at or below 120% of the countywide area median income, 120% of AMI for a family of 4 currently in Kent County is $107,400. All projects will be required to maintain affordability requirements for at least 20% of the housing units for a period of at least 10 years or the length of the loan period, whichever is longer. The advisory committee recommends 2 aspirational goals for the Affordable Housing Loan Fund. Homeownership projects will comprise 10% of all units approved. 60% of the units approved will be leased or sold to households earning 80% or less of the countywide area median income.
All right, thanks, Sal. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden. Is there support? Support by Commissioner Oliver King. All right, questions or comments regarding this item? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Curious on the bullet point where all projects will be required to maintain affordability requirements for at least 20% of the housing units. What does that look like exactly? I mean,
I'll ask Josh Spencer, our Director of Strategic Initiatives, to address that.
Thanks for joining us this morning, Josh.
Yep, thank you. So 20% of a development, so say there is, I guess, easy math, 10 units, 2 of those units would be required to maintain affordability, and the rest would not be required to at the bare minimum. Now, we definitely anticipate that the projects that we see are going to far exceed that, but with all these parameters, it was very important to the advisory committee that we have flexibility to take projects and support them as they come to us. And so that was the threshold that the steering committee was comfortable with.
would it be the affordability as far as the rent or the cost of the?
So it's either going to be a rental project or it could be a home ownership project. So if it's a rental project, then it has to be affordable, and there's a threshold that's set by the federal government for that, what that means, and so we'll follow that for 80% AMI or lower. And if it's a home ownership project, that's a different standard for homeowner or households that are 120% AMI or lower. So it depends on what kind of project it is and what that affordability limit will be. Again, that's the minimum. We believe that a lot of the projects will be for lower AMI households.
I may be way off track here, but let's say someone's renting a house, they lose their job. Does it kick in? Is there a component that kicks in there with somebody that doesn't have enough money to cover their rent for a month, or is this strictly on the building
This is at the
side?
point of lease up. So as far as what their AMI is, that's at the point of lease up. So that is also important. So if their income goes up, actually it would not impact their ability to stay in that house or rental unit. And if it goes down, actually that definitely doesn't impact their eligibility because they have to be below a certain, and whether they can afford that, there's other programs that we have available, but that's a lease arrangement or with the developer that develops the property.
And somewhere out there, there's a model that's been used in this.
Yeah, this is, we did look at, and the partners that were around the room and that we're working with have done this in other communities. So certainly these are things that you've seen in other loan funds that have provided the flexibility to be successful.
Thank you very much. Excuse me.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to speak to both items 5 and 6 together, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. So first, I'd like to take a moment and reflect on what this fund means. This board's initial investment of $17.5 million in partnership with which was, at the time, a hopeful partnership with the CDFI, and it's now a realistic partnership with IFF will create a $58.3 million housing fund. That is the largest affordable housing fund in West Michigan. And, you know, housing, as we all know, as we've heard today, as we've heard in past discussions, is a regional, countywide crisis. And I am proud that this county is establishing a fund and taking a bold, unprecedented step towards tackling our housing crisis here in Kent County. It's not perfect, as we've all talked about, but it is a very strong step forward. You know, I certainly would like to thank those from Together West Michigan for coming today and for your continued advocacy on this issue, and you know, sharing your thoughts about the proposed affordable housing revolving loan fund. You know, I welcome this conversation because while there are disagreements about the mechanics, about the performance metrics, I think we can all agree that bold, decisive action is required. And I welcome Together West Michigan's proposal and share their desire that this fund prioritize affordable home ownership. You know, since the board approved establishing this fund in December, it has been my hope that that this fund would be used to expand affordable home ownership, especially new forms of affordable home ownership, shared equity housing, cooperative housing, so that we can extend the American dream to more folks in Kent County. And as I reflect on Together West Michigan's request and the performance metrics currently in the resolution, I ultimately believe the immediate metrics that were drafted by the loan committee are better for one key reason. I worry about, especially in the housing sector, with the best of intentions, overpromising and under-delivering. You know, I think in housing especially, people in this role have done that in the past. Not immediately, but historically, people in local government have, and likely with the best of intentions, overpromised and under-delivered in housing, which I think has bred some of the cynicism we have in the housing discussion. And so while I certainly hope that over the life of this fund, half of the dollars, half of the projects go to affordable home ownership, I personally believe that a year one starting goal of 10% that is then amended over time by a loan committee in permanent standing is optimal. Again, I think reaching for that goal is the right step to take, but I worry about making even an aspirational commitment that we do not know we can absolutely keep. The 10% goal that was set by the loan committee was determined to be a stretch goal, and that was in consultation with folks in the affordable homeownership sector, partners like ICCF, and our new partners at IFF who have managed local funds in other communities. When asked, what is a stretch goal right now, given what we currently have in our market? And it was determined 10% was a good stretch goal to make. And for as I look at this, I want to make sure that we're reaching stretch goals, but we are not setting goals out so far that we don't know we can make them, because I would hate to come back to the community and have to explain why we didn't get to somewhere, but instead set stretch goals that we change and build on over time, which I do believe we can do with this housing fund. And so I would just ask that those in Together West Michigan to continue their advocacy, to make sure that we prioritize affordable home ownership, that we use this as an opportunity to build new products, and that we use this fund as the once-in-a-generation opportunity to help tackle the housing crisis in Kent County. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank Together West Michigan as well for being an advocate. Being a real estate broker, 28 years in the field of real estate has been very interesting. I've seen people finance 110% of their amount of their house, the value. I've seen people take out loans and they shouldn't. I've seen straw buyers. I've seen a recession. I've seen it all. And it is so disheartening to see that we allow the banks to continue to destroy families, that we allow supply and demand, some of the builders, to come in and take advantage of our housing market. I do understand that supplies have gone up. I understand that there is a need for more affordable housing. But when we look at our Airbnb situation, when we look at the situation with individuals that are just investing, not treating their tenants properly, it is very disheartening. And I'm hoping that this fund is a start of something, like Commissioner Wooden said, a start of something that could really be beautiful for our community. So Together West Michigan, please keep advocating, please keep pushing. We can only do so much, but together we can get there. So I just want to say thank you very much, but it does fall on us to make sure that these funds are spent appropriately, and we do have to be in the position and be willing to push back on the builders, to push back on the banks, to push back on those that have predatory practices, especially for our communities that are more marginalized. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, our next item on the agenda comes again from the Administrator's Office, and it's regarding the Affordable Housing Loan Fund Agreement.
Yes. Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners that it authorize the Board Chair or County Administrator negotiate with IFF an agreement in the amount not to exceed $17,500,000, pursuant to which IFF will establish and manage the Kent County Affordable Housing Loan Fund for the benefit of Kent County residents, and authorize the Board Chair or designee to execute the agreement. Summary. Kent County received $127.6 million from the U.S. Department of Treasury pursuant to H.R. 1319, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Section 603, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. Kent County appropriated $17.5 million via Resolution 12-122-121 to address the affordable housing shortage. An advisory committee to the county administrator was appointed by the chair to assist in developing recommended loan parameters designed to respond to current affordable housing need. The advisory committee considered which community development financial institution to partner with to administer the loan fund. IFF is recommended as the CDFI partner due to their long track record of financial health, history working with affordable housing developments, and unique ability to provide a 2.33 to 1 match, adding $40,833,333 to the Affordable Housing Loan Fund for a total of $58,333,333. Corporate Counsel will review and approve the agreement as to form prior to signature.
All right, thank you, Al. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden, support by Commissioner Sparks. Al, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I think we have a lot of folks in the room, we have new commissioners, and we have public out there. I just wanted to briefly mention a couple things about how ranking worked and the process we went through. I'll keep it brief. But basically, we had a total of 319 community ARPA proposals and 13 county proposals for a total of 332 proposals. Guidehouse, our consultant, didn't rank those. What they did was they vetted all of those against both the county board's criteria and the federal criteria. And that's what we put in the catalog of all those that went online. This had to be one of the most public processes in the United States of America for spending ARPA funds. Then when it came to ranking, the Board of Commissioners actually ranked all those proposals, and they did it in a very public forum. We had screens set up in here, we used these screens, and basically we had a ranking system where the commissioners ranked each one. The room was completely full of people, and so I just didn't want people to think that there was any secrecy or lack of public input. As to this proposal specifically, we had a number of housing proposals that were major and would have been very costly. It was very clear that some of these proposals would appeal to different geographies in the county because we had 19 commissioners at the time who covered a broad range of the county. And so it was clear that the collective impact of those proposals, it would be hard to get any of them to rank very high, and B, they would benefit maybe a part of the county, but not all the county. So the decision was made to basically communicate with everybody who put in a housing proposal and came up with the idea of doing the revolving loan fund because it would be something that could appeal to all 19 commissioners at the time because it could fund a project anywhere in Kent County. And so, however, with the ARPA process, not only did the ARPA guidelines change, and we kept getting these interim, final, and maybe final determinations and that kind of thing, but then also it was unclear as to whether we could do it, how it would work, how did it fit in the federal requirements to be able to do this kind of project. Turned out the federal guidelines did allow it, so we did it. But this project, as it's constituted, wasn't in that book because the book had the whole number of projects. And we put them together to come up with something big. So, but that was ranked. This project was ranked among the 30, and it ranked high. And that's why we're here today talking about this. So I just thought it was important to clarify that so we don't give the public the idea that somehow this wasn't done properly in the public setting.
All right, thank you. Other questions or comments? Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Chair. Just to put a fine point on it, as memory serves me correct, it was in between the deadline to submit proposals and the commissioner ranking of proposals that the Treasury guidelines changed to allow revolving loan funds.
Correct.
Prior to that change, revolving loan funds weren't even allowed. And it would have to be subgrantees. And that's where the tension of specific projects over a fund itself was harder. And it was because of that change in that window that it was deemed appropriate to consider it. And it was in consultation with Housing Next and others to see how this could map out. And that's why it was in the final litany of projects to be ranked by us as the commission. If anything, I do want to add, my appreciation for IFF in this process. They have, they are a community development financial institution in the Midwest with extensive experience. They are premier leaders in financing affordable housing. And it was from their guidance that we were able to set not only the loan parameters, but the process by which we will examine this fund. And one thing they kept saying was, we've seen funds be too prescriptive and fail. And it's the flexibility that allows it to change and evolve with the market that leads to an ultimate success. And why it's so key that over time, we maintain a focus on affordable home ownership by advocating to the loan committee members. And given that what was originally an advisory committee now will be a permanent group that is supervising IFF, I would impress upon the folks at Together West Michigan to continue their advocacy, and others. And then just ultimately, just to be very clear, in my discussion in the past item, when talking about the concern about overpromising and underdelivering, I want to make it very clear, I do not necessarily think that was Together West Michigan's intention, but it's just something that we as public officials have to be cautionary about, and that's important to me. So again, I thank those for the bold requests and their desires for us to be even bolder, and I just hope that they continue to push us in the years ahead. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank IFF for sure, but I also want to, can I just turn it off? Gotcha. Thank you. I want to thank Josh Lunger for pushing too. And this particular action item is going to be so important to the future of our housing. And I know that Josh has, other ideas and the relationships with Housing Next. I'm really thankful that he was able to push this forward. So I want to thank you for your work.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Our next item on the agenda comes from the prosecutor's office. It's item 7, and it's fiscal year 2024 to 2028 cooperative reimbursement grant, Title 4D.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the Prosecutor's Office FY 2024-2028 through 2028 Title 4D Cooperative Reimbursement Program Agreement with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, MDHHS, to accept and appropriate up to $12,638,798 from MDHHS and the County General Fund to the Special Projects Fund and to authorize the board chair or designee to execute the agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary: the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services provides funding to counties to operate a cooperative reimbursement program to establish paternity and secure support orders. The state has moved to a 5-year grant application cycle to reduce the workload and processing requirements for the state and the county. Funding levels will be reviewed and adjusted annually, with general fund support included in the annual budget recommendation. The projected allocations, October 1, 2023 through September 30, 2028, range from $2,287,304 in 2024 to $2,780,232 in 2028, for a total of $12,638,798. The application proposes that the prosecutor's cooperative reimbursement program will continue to operate with 19 full-time positions. In the event funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item? Moved by Commissioner McLeod. Is there support? Support. Support by Commissioner Wooden. All right, questions or comments regarding item 7? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next item, item 8, comes from Fiscal Services, and it's the 2024 grant acceptance beginning October 1, 2023.
Action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to accept the 2024 grants for budgets beginning October 1, 2023, and to authorize the board chair or designate to execute the grant agreements, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriations not to exceed 15% of the original awards. And I'll quickly read the grants. We have the Health Fund, $20,034,213. Indigent Defense Fund, $21,416,076. State Projects Fund, $3,200,229. Federal Projects Fund, $697,497. KCCA Fund, $4,963,289. And the Child Care Fund, $16,899,601, for a total of $67,210,905. Funding for the following new grant positions are included in the 2024 proposed budget as recommended by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee at its meeting on July 18, 2023. 1 full-time senior legal assistant, 1 part-time senior legal assistant converted to full-time, 1 full-time victim witness advocate, and 3 on-call senior transportation drivers converted to part-time, which converts temporary positions to permanent. In the event grant funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to the fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations. Prior to signature, Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents.
All right, thanks, Al. Is there a motion for this item?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Sparks. Is there support? Support. Support by Commissioner Kallman. Questions or comments regarding the grants? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, our next item on the agenda comes from the Administrator's Office. It's the 2024 General Appropriation Act.
Yes, and action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve the 2024 General Appropriation Act as the official budget for 2024. Summary: it is the responsibility of the County Administrator Controller to prepare an annual operating and capital improvement program budget for the county, and the 2024 budget has been submitted to the Finance and Physical Resources Committee for approval. Pursuant to state statute, a public hearing on the proposed budget will be held on August 10, 2023, and the appropriate public notice was published. The Finance and Physical Resources Committee and the full board have reviewed the 2024 budget in detail. Estimated total appropriations for the various fund types are proposed as follows. The General Fund, $226,360,095. Special Revenue Funds, $214,441,630. for a total of $440,801,725. In September 2023, the Board of Commissioners will be requested to authorize 1.9661 mills for voter-approved dedicated millage, which is unchanged from the prior year and has been used as a basis for preparing the 2024 budget. In May 2024, the Board of Commissioners will be requested to authorize the general property tax levy on real and personal property within the county upon the equalized tax roll to support county general operations in 2024. This request includes the addition of 38.625 full-time equated positions as recommended by the Legislative and Human Resources Committee on July 18, 2023 and August 1, 2023. 5 additional vehicles are required for the recommended patrol deputy positions.
All right. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden. Is there support? Support. Support by Commissioner Sparks. Are there questions or comments regarding this? Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was curious. I've had a discussion with some township folks about public noticing. And can you kind of dive into what we have to do to comply with public notices? And is that something we need to go back and look at now that the world's changed a lot? And I know some places are still operating on a small little footprint in the back of the Grand Rapids Press on a Sunday that's not being seen by anybody anymore. And I'm wondering if we've looked at that, given where we're
You
at.
mean in general or specifically for the budget process?
Specifically for the budget process.
I'm going to ask Jeff to address that. I mean, we have the public notice for the public hearing, and then we have our meeting public notices for when we're going to be discussing general business in the budget. We publish those on our website, and Jeff?
Yeah, good morning. So we're still following the state law. State law has not changed regarding publication in a local, I forget the exact term, but Regina might know it, about a local
Paper of general circulation.
Thank you, general circulation. I think it's got to be a certain size, quarter page, certain font and all that. So it's still state law. They have not changed that to go to any other means. So we're following the law, but that's still the way it is. So.
That's what I figured. It's really archaic, and, if we really want to be transparent, and I'm not saying we're doing this on purpose, but nobody's looking at these things anymore because nobody's, getting those publications. They're certainly not surfing through the fine print on the back page of a Sunday Press or something. So I think it would be in our best interest to look outside the law maybe and create our own rule here where on our public notices, just to be more transparent. It's not going to hurt anything. We want public input. We want the public to know what we're up to. And I think we have to step away from the, Barney Rubble and Fred Flintstone chipping it out on slate.
To be clear, we still have to do it because it's state law, and the budget wouldn't be authorized
Go above and
otherwise,
beyond
but we could add additional
Somehow,
steps. Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to hurt. Let's be a little bit more transparent in that process would be my goal.
And we can certainly look at that, but I did want to make it clear that we also use our website. I don't think that's required by Michigan law.
I don't think it's
that does
required, but we
really
post
tell
it
the
there.
world what we're doing, but we can look at more targeted communication as well.
There's so much out there that,
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Wooden.
There are only a few moments when Commissioner Antor and I are in complete agreement. So I always try to milk them. But one of the things that we do very well now is we have our expanded email list that sends our electronic newsletter throughout the county, and I believe our supervisors, mayors, and managers are included on that. I imagine, you also don't want to overcorrect and send them notices for every meeting we have to flood their inboxes that are already getting flooded by their own business, but at the very least, maybe noticing when our budget public hearing is going to be, makes sense, so.
Sure.
All right, Commissioner Kallman.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Antor, you'll have to educate me on what a newspaper is after this, but I just wanted to say thanks for the budget process. I know this is our first time with a full fiscal year budget, and I know there's a lot of work behind the scenes to get there. And the many years I've been a commissioner, I know it's always a conversation about how do we continue to get the voice of Kent County residents through us into the details of the budget process. And I think we continue to make progress there and, have additional steps coming to just continue to evolve and balance that process. And so I'm just very, very grateful for all of that work and the process involved. And I do also try to keep in mind as we're, voting these things through, what it means in terms of, the cost to a family here in Kent County. And certainly I think Kent County does a very good job of managing our budget so that the cost of government for our citizens is reasonable. And yet we should be vigilant going forward that we're always looking for ways to make sure that that cost burden for our residents is as low as it can be. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Merchant.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions from the one-pager that we received for the amendments to the 2024 proposed budget, specifically to the fiscal services purchasing area where we changed or reclassified a contract specialist position to a new assistant corporate counsel position. My first question is I see that we took $57,380 from the contingency fund to help cover the cost of that FTE, but I want to know what the rest of the cost of that FTE is with the existing funds that we were already using for that position before it was reclassified. And then my second question to that is because this looks like it falls under corporate counsel, will that money then get transferred to the corporate counsel line under the admin line, or will it be staying in fiscal services? It looks like from the budget documents we received, it's staying under fiscal services, but I'm just curious as to if that will get changed.
So the total cost of the position is $167,267, salary and benefits. And yes, the cost of the position will reside in the Corporation Counsel office.
Is that for the deputy corporate counsel position or the assistant corporate counsel, because there are two?
Right. The deputy will reside, and I believe that the other position will also reside in the yes, both will reside in the Corporation Counsel office.
Okay, and they're the same FTE amount then as well?
Full-time, correct, 40 hours a week.
All right, thank you. Other questions or comments regarding the budget before us? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. All right, now we are on to item number 10, and it's from the Health Department. Ready by 5, Early Childhood Millage Services-Led Expansion Program Amendment.
Let me say this is a late addition to the agenda, but since we're accepting more money, we figured it was safe. So, action requested. Recommend to the Board of Commissioners to approve an amendment to the Ready by 5 Early Childhood Millage-Led Expansion Grant for 2022-23, accept and appropriate $91,137 to the 2022-23 Health Fund budget, and authorize the Board Chair or designee to execute the agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases of the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. Summary. The Health Department has received an additional $91,137 in funding for the Ready by 5 Early Childhood Millage Services-Led Expansion Program. The initial funding for the grant period, January 1, 2023 through September 30, 2023, was $437,040. With the additional $91,137 in funding, the total award for the 9 months ending September 30, 2023 is $528,177. Lead services are conducted in homes where children 0 to 5 years of age have been found to have elevated blood lead levels. These services include home health screenings and lead inspections and risk assessments, LIRAs. All Health Department sanitary and staff have received the Lead Inspector Risk Assessor LIRA certification. The Health Department has seen approximately a 50% increase in the number of referrals of children with elevated blood lead levels over the past year. For the 2023 grant period, the Health Department proposed to complete 108 home health screenings and 36 LIRAs to qualifying homes. From January 1, 2023 through May 31, 2023, the Health Department has actually provided 23 home health screenings and 58 LIRAs. The number of LIRAs provided through May has exceeded the planned number for the entire year because many of the referrals are coming in with high blood levels and more extensive LYRA is being performed. The less extensive home health screenings for those with low blood lead levels are being referred to Healthy Homes Coalition, whose staff is not certified to perform LYRAs. The funding from the amendment will cover the costs of additional staff time, a temporary part-time health educator to provide education and outreach services, and expanded promotional materials. The amendment period is June 1, 2023 to September 30, 2023.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion for this item? Commissioner Kallman, is there support?
Support.
Commissioner Sparks. All right, questions or comments? Commissioner Sparks, or Commissioner Kallman, and then Commissioner Sparks.
Or age. So here was our thing with this serving on the Ready by 5. We had $12 million in ask and only $8 million to give. And this program, while it's very important to Kent County, I wish we could have given more money for it. I will be supporting this because I believe that we still have we have the highest number of lead poisonings in Michigan in the 49507 zip code. So we still need to keep working. Thank you.
Commissioner Kallman.
Thank you, Chair. A number of new commissioners and probably members of the public might not be aware that a few years back, Chair Breivy actually ran a subcommittee on lead poisoning in our community. And so from that and just continued efforts at various different channels, I think we continue to make progress by focusing on this issue, and it's a very important one. So I'm glad to see it continue to come up in different ways. And I'm just curious, just having looked through this now, is this 91,000 additional, like, unbudgeted for millage revenues, or where is this 91,000? What's the funding source?
Yes, it's from the millage balance.
Higher than
Yeah.
anticipated in the budget.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And they have remember, this is the group that had the high fund balance because just as they were launching their efforts, COVID hit. And so then they tried to deliver services online, and yet a number of the folks that qualified and they were going to work with didn't have good access online. And so they ended up with a higher than typical balance of money. Correct, yeah.
All right, Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Seems like we've done a really good job in the arena of awareness. Requests, inspections, assessments are all up, which is good. I'm just curious about the actual remediation. I know it's tough right now finding contractors to do anything, let alone lead remediation. I'm wondering what type of time schedule are we on from the actual application process to assessing a problem, actually getting the lead out of these homes, because I'm not seeing a whole lot of movement anywhere right now in this field, and just kind of curious how we can expedite that, because you hate to find a problem, say, yeah, it's serious, and then not get to it.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you, Drew Salisbury. I'm the lead program supervisor at the health department. Contractor shortage continues to be an issue, but we are working with our lead action team to, it's one of the highlights of a very important subgroup that is trying to address that. We're partnering with local nonprofits, working with GRCC, and a wide variety of individuals to address that. Still have a shortage, but at least we're able to identify the sources of lead, educate the parents and the homeowners and the tenants. At least they can make some of the fixes themselves or some safety practices they can do in the meantime. But you're right, the shortage of contractors is still a big issue.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think it's going to remain an issue. I remember back when we tried to fix the S-curve back in the day, and that was going to be a huge project. They incentivized the contractors financially to get the job done quicker, and they did a great job. And I'm just wondering if there's a philanthropic component here where we could further feather the nest of these people that do the remediation, because as much as we'd like to see them pick up the pace, it's not going to happen, because we can't wish them. They're all extremely busy, and unless the revenue end of this makes sense to them, they're gonna continue doing other things, so that'd be my only concern and comment.
Commissioner, just to add to that, the board has also allocated some of the ARPA dollars to lead remediation efforts. So we're working on that front as well. So there's efforts from every direction to get more contractors and get the work done. We're also engaging KCCA, bringing some new staff on in their team to help manage the lead remediation portion of the lead work as well. So it's getting attention on various fronts, and you do bring up an important topic.
It's a work in progress. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Wooden?
Thank you, Chair. Just real briefly on this topic. I recall a few years back, there was a discussion about examining a pay-for-success model for lead remediation. It was mentioned very briefly, and I think the last time I heard it mentioned in a county meeting was January of 2020, and a few things happened since then. But do we know if that's something that's been examined and maybe a feasible option for helping deploy other resources for lead remediation?
That's the first I've heard of it, but we'll certainly look into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that we should be generating some kind of report that shows the number of homes actually remediated. I think, it's been it's been exciting to see so many of our ARPA-funded projects be completed, be underway, have ribbon cuttings or groundbreakings or celebrations, and this is something I think it's important that we all keep track of, is how many actual remediations are happening. And I know this has come up several times, so we'll figure out a format and start providing that.
Sounds good. Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, I don't know if I'll continue to harp on this. As we talk about lead, certainly I agree with the strategy where we've been allocating resources where there's the most need. And Commissioner Sparks mentioned what we all know about the 507 and just how bad the issue is there. Are we yet chipping away at this problem so that we can start to go where it's not as geographic? Does it make as much geographic sense to do remediation? Because I know we've talked about older infrastructure in the rural parts of the county that have similar challenges. Again, I understand and agree with the strategy that we've been going where we can make the best use of our time and where the need is greatest in the 507. But I know we have these challenges elsewhere in the county as well. Maybe not, actually, I know not to the same extent, but are we getting yet to that point? Or do we still have such a big challenge to solve in places like the 507 and in the urban 6?
Yeah, you're correct. We are still doing a lot of work in the city areas with the high EBLs. But these are countywide services. We recently have done some work in Sparta, Cedar Springs, Lowell area. We know 4 out of 5 homes are likely built before 78 when lead-based paint was outlawed. So you're right, it's countywide. On a state level, they are working through a mandatory blood lead testing for all kids under 5. And I believe that'll truly shed a light on the entire issue countywide and show that we do need to address these outer lying areas.
Thank you, that's helpful. Al mentioned the focus we've put on, appropriately on some of the ARPA projects that we've done. This one's certainly not as sexy as a new building with a ribbon to cut, but it is likely far more important when we're talking about the health of our kids. So I appreciate the work that everybody's putting into it. Thanks.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments regarding this item? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. That brings us to the back side of our page here, and we have Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned, and our next meeting will be on Tuesday, August 22 at 8:30 a.m., which is also the first day of school for my children. Thanks for joining us.